Hello, it's Bill again. And I wanted to do a video today. I was thinking about how entangled pairs might communicate spin even when they produce a gravity bit and also when they produce their Hawking radiation bit. So we had talked before how entanglement causes gravity and how measuring the first of the pair, the counterfactual portion of the spin of the first particle actually forms the wormhole. So if AC's up, then the counterfactual is down. And I have a hunch that helicity is encoded into that wormhole in order to preserve the spin. That way we're preserving the information. The same thing when B is measured. Since there is no causal uncertainty, it emits a photon instead of gravity. But it appears like the spin information is also preserved in that photon. This is not a photon that's emitted that's in a superposition of up and down. If B's particle position was measured down, then that particular photon will be up. And I think this is important because it's going to preserve the spin of particles. Particles can behave as photons, but in order for a particle to behave as a photon, when it divides into photons, it's going to have to preserve the spin and not have it in superposition. So that way, when the universe, in the late stages of our universe, when the cosmic event horizon is very small, that will help have these Hawking photons find each other because they have opposite spins and they can reform into particles. So photons actually have something similar. They're only spin 1 particles. And the only way you can make a photon behave as a matter particle is by having a photon go very near a nucleus. So for a short period of time, it can assume particle-like properties, but it produces antimatter as its other particle, and then the antimatter will annihilate with matter. So that takes away that spin state. So it's back to a photon state. So a lot of times people are wondering, we're under the baryon asymmetry of the universe. How come we don't see as much antimatter as matter? And that's because photons are photons and particles are particles. And photons can form particle pairs, but they form antimatter, which turns the particle back into a spin 1 photon. And then particles, when they're emitted as Hawking radiation, their spin is locked. So when the universe gets small enough and energetic enough, it's going to compress these Hawking photons, and they only have a single spin instead of a superposition. And that way, these Hawking photons can find each other and form actual particles again. Particles prefer to live particle-like existences, and photons prefer photon-like existences. And antimatter is the way that a photon is turned back into a photon existence. And then the Hawking radiation being condensed at very high energies is what restores the particle information from photonic back to particle. So I'm noticing that there was a difference in the emission efficiency. I was expecting 0.707, but seeing a 0.724. I thought it was related to curvature because that percentage tracks with the curvature. But now I'm looking at that it's possibly the spin direction has been encoded, and that's the extra efficiency, is actual information that shows spin. In a superposition, you wouldn't get this little juice because they're in a state of superposition, so the spins cancel. But when you have a quantum object where the spin is locked, well, then you have to account for that little bit of energy. So that's my idea. It's still speculative at this point, but I'm trying to find some support for it. If anyone has any ideas, please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Also watch my other videos, read the comments and the descriptions. I have some math in the descriptions that show the connection between the Landauer limit, the amount of energy constraint and degree of freedom, and the energy in an individual unit of gravity. They're equivalent, and that's how I kind of came to all these realizations. Anyways, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.